Node.js edition. So, I mean, if you are a programmer who's coming from Java edition, if you're coming from C# or C++, Python, you can choose any of this version. And because we will be working with this NoSQL type database, we will be using this Node.js edition. But if you are someone who's very much familiar with the MySQL databases, or if you're very much familiar with the SQL type databases, then you're most welcome to use them. There are no hard and fast rules which will actually tell you to restrict yourself from using MySQL or SQL type databases. So I guess I talked too much. Nonetheless, our JSON file is ready, but it does not have any sort of content. So let us create a content. So it's absolutely the same thing as a normal JavaScript file. The difference is that you can create variables, functions, or other type of fundamental stuff like you can use for loops, arrays, but we can't do that in JavaScript or JSON files. We can only go for arrays without the variables or the variable name. We can go for objects as the name implies, which is the JavaScript object notation. We can use objects with properties, but we can't use functions or methods. So let's have a look how we can do that. The first way, usually what we have seen in our usual fundamental classes of JavaScript, if you are someone who's not familiar with this JavaScript fundamentals or this JavaScript programming language, please head over to my channel. I've got an entire series. You just need a working knowledge to understand this entire series on Node.js. You don't have to be a ninja. So let's actually turn to our actual task in here. So you can't create any sort of variable as I was talking about. If you create a variable like this, it won't be valid. So if I head over to the simple server.js file, you see that the forward actually changes color. Why? Because our compiler behind the scenes is actually recognizing that this is a valid syntax for JavaScript. And this is a keyword which tells the compiler, which is going to tell the compiler when the compilation occurs at runtime, it's going to tell the compiler that the thing that's coming up is a variable, and that variable will contain some sort of function, or it will be assigned with some sort of function. But inside the JSON, you can't do that. Usually, what we would have done to create an array inside JavaScript is that we would use this var keyword followed by the identifier or the name, then with the assignment operator, then we would go for the square brackets, and then we terminate the entire statement with the semicolon. So this has created an empty array, but we can't do that. We can't use semicolon. We can't use this keyword. As you can see, my Antenna Studio, it's not actually changing color if I even use this keyword. Why? Because this is a JSON file and it does not work in the traditional way the JavaScript actually works. So what we need to do, obviously it has connection with JavaScript, but JSON is more of a subset of JavaScript, not the actual JavaScript. So what we need to do, we need to cut this semicolon, also erase everything. So this thing actually gets a lot simpler. Now, like any other array in JavaScript, we can use it. We can use, you can create multi-dimensional arrays, but we won't go for, we won't go for any sort of multi-dimensional arrays. We want a single-dimensional arrays to keep things simpler. So let's create a bunch or a couple of titles that we want to show to our visitors as a list on the HTML page. So let's create a title like explaining the usage of Node I guess that doesn't even sound like it doesn't even sound like an actual title. Let me make it far more realistic. How to explain the usage of Node to non-Node programmers. So this could be a title. If you're interested in creating a blog, then you can use that as your heading or as an idea for that. Go ahead. There's no harm in using this. I'm not a person who will brag about copyright laws. I just hate them. Nonetheless, let's actually create several ones. We can go for 5 of them. So we can also go for how JavaScript is changing the face of the modern web applications. This could be a title. Then we can write something like maybe learn about the power of NodeJS's HTTP module. I guess it sounds a little childish, but that's okay. It's more of like, you're directly trying to sell some sort of product. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to show you an example. So let's create 2 more. We can go for something like maybe create your own blog in few simple